Good morning, friends. I am Digvijay Dadasaheb Dere, working as an assistant professor, Department of English, Rasri Chhatrapati Shahu College, Kolhapur. Today, in this lecture, we have to discuss an introduction to media writing. What is media writing? Media writing is an important part in day-to-day lives. So, first of all, you should know what is the basic things regarding the media writing. Language is a means of communication. We not only communicate with the individuals but also with the groups. We already use e-communication. In the previous year, we have seen how to draft an email and even how to write a personal and professional blogs. Like e-communication, media writing is also an element which is always used in communication skill. It is important task in day-to-day life. We have also practiced writing different types of communication. We were acquainted with different modes of face-to-face communication and spoken and written communication. Now it is time to learn how to communicate when the readers, listeners, or viewers who are in large numbers are neither thoroughly known to us nor visible to us. For the last 3 years, we have developed various skills essential for your life after graduation. Along with the degree certificate, you should be in possession of skills required for the job markets. So, in media writing, there are two types of mass media. First is print media, and second one is electronic media. In print media, we have to come across newspapers, internet, magazines, and journals. A newspaper we daily used or referred in day-to-day lives, and internet is also the part of our day-to-day life. We always use the internet to interact with the people as well as to make some daily activities. Magazines and journals, which is also important to know more information about a particular subject or topic. You can get reference from magazines and journals also. uh, Second types of mass media, that is electronic media. Here in electronic media, radio and television is included. Radio is a oldest media which is uh, heard by millions of people from hundreds years ago. And television is also familiar with the common people approximately 50 years ago. So the most of the common people uh, familiar with the radio and television, which is included into the electronic media. But likewise, electronic media, in print media, we also familiar with the newspaper, uh, but later on it is developed and we came across while inventing the computer. We familiar with the internet. So these are the two types of mass media: print media and electronic media. Media writing is an important task in day-to-day life. Here we have to know more and more things. There is a possibility to acquire new knowledge. In media writing, it is essential to know the basic difference between news for the newspaper and news for the radio. Here we have to see some basic difference between newspaper and radio. First difference is news in the newspaper is meant for silent reading. Here, silent reading is expected from the reader. Uh, in news for the radio, news broadcast on the radio is intended to be heard. Here, we have to only hear the news which is given by the speaker on the radio. Second difference is the new items in a newspaper are divided into headlines, lead, and the main points. But in radio news begins with the headlines followed by detailed news. there is a basic difference between newspaper and radio. That is that newspaper are divided into the headlines and main points, but on the radio you can only hear the headlines, and after the speaker gives its explanation. Third difference is the headline can be incomplete sentences with omission of articles. Here is incomplete headline has been given in the newspaper, but in the radio the headlines must be in complete sentences. The speaker gives complete sentences or uttered some complete sentences when he is delivering the information or news on the radio. Fourth difference is the reader can go back to the news report if he has missed or failed to understand or grasp the matter. In newspaper, there is a possibility to go back and read again, but on the radio, ephemeral nature of the oral message on radio, the detail of the news read on radio are not repeated. Only the important headlines are repeated at the end of the news. If the listener fails to listen to any news, it is difficult to retrieve the point missed. Uh, when you missed any news on the radio, you cannot repeat those news, but it never happened in the newspaper. But on the radio, once you missed the news, you cannot understand those things again. Fifth difference is the use of lengthy sentences in a news report may not make any significant difference to the radio. There is a lengthy and complex sentences has been used by the reporter in the newspaper. But on the radio, the announcer has to read the news with appropriate speed using short words and simple sentences. But when the speaker gives a news on the radio, he used the simple sentences as per the speed of uh, 11 to the particular news. And here he can control and he make pauses if it is necessary while giving the news on the radio. Sixth difference is the news item is made effective by using headlines in the bold and visuals like photographs. In newspapers, with headlines, you can use the photographs. But on the radio, there is no scope to use support material like audiovisual clips to aid either the news reader or the listener. There is no possibility to use headlines and photographs. Seventh difference is punctuation marks are used to bring clarity in the communication of meaning. Punctuation marks are usually used in the newspaper. A newsreader on the radio has to depend on very short pauses. Here, the reader is depend on the short pauses. There is no punctuation mark has been used on the radio. Yet the difference is in news reports, passive voice is used, but on the contrary, on the radio, news are presented in active voice. And the last difference is ninth one. In newspaper, attribution follows the quote and is generally at the end of a sentence, as in the example given below. The spot boys are paid to less in film industry factory. But on the radio, as the listener need to know the speaker, attribution in radio news is at the front of a sentence as in the following example. A senior government economist says that spot boys in film industry are paid to less. So these are the nine difference between news for the newspaper and news on the radio. Uh, Newspaper and radio both are inseparable part of media writing, and which is used by millions of people nowadays in their day-to-day life. I think that you have understood the point, an introduction to media writing, in which I have discussed the difference between news for the newspaper and news for the radio, as well as I have given to you the types of mass media, print media, and electronic media. And I think that it will be helpful to you understand better in your future reference. Thank you for your great support.